Thank you. This is a story called The Sisterhood of the Stolen Pants, and a little disclaimer that all the names have been changed to protect the guilty. I was in a sorority in college, but at our small upstate New York school, which was rumored to have been in the Guinness Book of World Records sometimes in the 80s for the most bars per square mile in the country, which is kind of why I went there, my sisters were a bunch of fun-loving party girls whose interests skewed more toward having a good time than setting academia on fire. This was probably why we let one of our own, a freckle-faced little sprite I'll call Brenda, get away with murder. Well, not really murder, but definitely theft. Yes, cute, petite, and bubbly Sister Brenda was a prolific and unapologetic thief. It was hard to tell at first. Like I said, there was a lot of partying going on, so if a sweatshirt or a necklace went missing, it was quickly forgotten or thought to have been lost down a toilet in the hungover light of day. It wasn't until my own experience with Brenda's handiwork that I realized the extent of her larceny. It was a year or so after graduation, and I was living with a couple of friends in Manhattan. Brenda was crashing with Kate 2 floors down in the same building. One night after a concert, I took off my denim shirt and black leggings from the Gap, size small, threw them on the floor, and went to bed while everyone hung out in the living room. When I woke up the next morning, the shirt was where I left it, but the black Gap leggings, size small, were gone. And I had a very easy-to-solve mystery on my hands. You see, there had been rumblings about Brenda's sticky fingers, and the next morning on the subway, I told Kate about the grand theft, and she immediately concurred. Brenda had taken my damn pants. "How come she never steals from me?" Kate asked. "I have nice things." Naturally, I did what any person diabolically committed to standing on principle would do in my position. I made like a terrier, glommed on to my certainty of Brenda's guilt, and didn't let go. For the next few days, every chance I got to be near Brenda, or even remotely within earshot, I mentioned the disappearance. "Where'd they go?" I'd muse. "Did they just get up and leave?" I was a colossal pain in her ass. How could I go to sleep with them right there on the floor, and then, with no one around but you guys, they go missing? I was relentless, on principle for sure, in addition to the fact that I was a broke 22-year-old living in Manhattan who didn't want to shell out $10 on another pair of black Gap leggings, size small, when a perfectly good pair had just been stolen. Fortunately, Operation Complete Annoyance worked. And a few days after the theft, Kate called to tell me a pair of black Gap leggings, size small, had materialized overnight in her closet. "Oh, really?" I asked, then ran downstairs to claim them. Brenda ignored me and quietly applied her makeup. "Can't imagine how they made it down here," I said, the terrier inside me still growling. "It's a mystery for the ages." After all that, you can imagine my surprise when, a few months later, as I was planning to move out to travel for the summer, my roommates told me Brenda was going to take my room. "What?" I asked. "You know she's a thief." Kate, who was often in our apartment, sighed from the sofa. "Why doesn't she take anything from me? We live together. It would be so easy." "It'll be fine," my roommate said. It was not fine. When I returned to New York, I learned that things had gone south fast. Brenda had stolen a bracelet one roommate's boyfriend had given her and a belt that belonged to the other, even though Brenda was half her size and the belt wouldn't even fit. My roommates had put locks on their bedroom doors, and then, you know what Brenda did? She put a lock on her door, which is just the ultimate gaslight. You kind of had to admire her hubris. It took years for all the stories about Brenda to come out. Years for Laura to tell us how Brenda had stolen the fancy pleated skirt and shell that Laura wore to her father's funeral. Another roommate had shamed Brenda so hard that Brenda finally snuck into Laura's room and left the fancy pleated skirt and shell crumpled in a ball in the back of Laura's closet, similar to the crime scene in which my black Gap leggings, size small, would be found later on. But it didn't end there. Even though Brenda had moved out and away from us, we soon heard from other sisters that Brenda lied her way into a job on Wall Street. Brenda working in finance, we asked? What could possibly go wrong? All these years later, my old roommates, Kate, Laura, and I sometimes recall Brenda. And the funeral outfit, the bracelet, the belt that didn't even fit, and of course, the black Gap leggings, size small. And still, Kate chimes in, "Why didn't she steal from me?" Then we laugh and move on to something else, as women who've been friends for 30 years and have a million stories between them are wont to do. But the story lingers, and I think it's in part because of our fear of loss, which I've been thinking about a lot these days. The loss of people, simple pleasures, and precious time. And sure, I think about what I've lost over the years and the things that Brenda took from us, some of which actually had meaning. My Black Gap leggings, size small, didn't mean anything. But you know what does? When the emperor is enabled to march around in stolen clothes, the terrier in me wants to point it out and make them stop. There's enough loss in this life without the Brendas of the world taking what doesn't belong to them. But in the end, I got the better of her by far. I got to keep the friends. And we're all still very good friends, which is a wonderful thing. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Lise.
Okay. See you soon.
All right. We'll see you next week.
I hope so. I got to write something.
Well, okay. Maybe right after this.
Yes. Right now I'm going to sit down and get to it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.